What's up, everybody? My name is Joshua Yoder, and this is the Joshua Yoder Show. And today, my guest is here to discuss spirituality and the belief of trying to get through dark times. And this person is a very good friend of mine, and he knows all about what we're going to talk about today. And his name is Seth Goss. Seth, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
As I mentioned during the intro, we're talking about spirituality and going through dark times and how faith and understanding could help really bring you out of the dark times and maybe bring others out of dark times. And Seth, your spiritual journey has been a quite interesting ride, is it to say the least?
Yeah, it's never a straight line. It's definitely always up and down, but
But do you think though that's like it's on purpose, like there's a purpose for that though?
yeah, I think that's from my own experience, that's the way life is, and it's all a learning tool. I believe life is a test. I think we all have a purpose to discover, but those ups and downs, I think, are what, you know, I think it all depends how you react to each situation that really, helps us grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And bringing you on here, I guess let's talk a little bit about your journey and how it all started. And unfortunately, it started with a pretty dark time of your life. You For those of you that don't know, he has a brother named Jeff who is sadly no longer with us, and that kind of started it down a bit of a dark path for you, Seth. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Uh, well, before my brother passed, I was kind of just going through life, I guess, like most people. Um, got Had a girlfriend, we had a baby. Um, my life was kind of chaotic for a lot of years. I was in and out of jail a few times. I had to get a rehab. I was on and off drugs, alcohol, and I was just really a mess. I thought I, had it all together, but no, when my son was about 9 months old, and but yeah, the one day I was just any other day, my mom showed up and my aunt and uncle, and they broke the news to me about my brother who was living out of the state, and yeah, that kind of just turned my whole world upside down. Um, I lost hope in everything, and everything I thought that mattered didn't matter. And I yeah, I kind of swore off everything, God, anything I'd ever heard in religion or that I thought I believed or whatever didn't matter. And yeah, even having my girlfriend, kid at the time, none of it mattered. I pretty much went straight down the path that, people tell you, oh, it's the worst thing you could do, with like drinking, and pretty much just heavy, heavy drinking. And yeah, well, about 6 months after he died, and I was drinking pretty heavy, I got diagnosed with lung disease. And I discovered that was from the drugs I had been doing for several years, is what caused that. I went in to get checked for something else in the ER the one morning. I was having like weird muscle spasms or something. And it just, while I was in there, they told me my oxygen wouldn't get above 88. And I was just like, oh, okay. Turns out through appointments and stuff, I had lung disease. Didn't matter. I was a little scared, but I still just kept doing everything I was doing. And it got to the point where I was so low. I was having dreams of dying. I'd go to the bar, come home, throw my oxygen on just because I knew it dropped really low at night. And like, yeah, I definitely was feeling death knocking my door. And I grieved for a while through all that, tried. I mean, I don't know if I grieved properly, but so then, I guess what happened was, well, that was kind of where everything started to change. We were living on Logan Street at the time, and we moved we were looking to move to like rent a house. And my father-in-law, the way all this timing worked, he had a house he was moving out of and was building a house, and he knew we were looking for one, so he asked if we wanted to move into his. So we did. We took that opportunity, moved in. We're still in that house today. And then 2 weeks after we moved in, we found out we were pregnant with my daughter. And this was just the whole time of transformation and change. And at that same time, whenever we moved here, I tried to go to the bar once. And I went, and I got a ride home. And that was the last time. And so that had ended. And yeah, my wife was pregnant, and this, everything about my daughter being born, like the pregnancy was different with my wife. Everything about this was positive compared to, years, a little while before.
Well,
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, so do you think was it just something that you felt like when you went to that bar and then like you realized you were pregnant, you were just sitting there, you're like, just something like came over you, like it just felt like some positive feeling just came over and you're like, you know what, I'm not really into drinking, or I'm like, I'm excited to become a dad again?
Honestly, I don't think so. I mean, where it all hit, it was kind of more like I started drinking here, which, I mean, I never did it when my wife was pregnant. I honestly, my memory's a little foggy during that time. But I remember when my daughter was around probably a year or two, I wouldn't drink when they were awake. Like I would wait till they went to sleep. But I mean, I was drinking still a lot. But what had finally happened was I was having all those dreams and stuff still, and I kind of just made a decision. But with that decision, I discovered a spiritual teacher. His name is Dr. Mitchell Gibson. I've learned everything from this man and his wife. And I really don't want to get into them, but through him, I learned about karma. I learned about growth, like inner growth, just when you're stalled in life and why you're not moving forward. And, things aren't ever going to go away until you deal with them. And I wasn't dealing with anything. And drinking and drugs and just a lot of negative things, they're going to hold you back. And it's never, things are never going to get better. So with that, I kind of just made a decision to try to stop. And I mean, that's really where the choice really started, to where I wanted to get off of everything.
Well, yeah, no, that's that, and that makes sense too. You want to try to change your mindset, but it also, I guess it's fair to say, like, lifestyle choices can be a factor in that as well. Oh, well, so I guess, is it fair to say that you were looking to try to be more like positive mindset, or try to find like something like positive to like keep your mind going straight?
Um, yeah. Uh, well, there was a lot of things going on too. I mean, like, becoming a dad and like a lot of the things I was doing that I was just appalled by, like drinking with, my having kids and still like I was doing a lot of things that I was really disgusted by. And I didn't like who I was, didn't even know who I was. Um, so it was just like I really, really, really didn't want to do or be any of those things anymore. And the first thing I did, the drinking didn't stop at first. It was the drugs I was doing. I knew I was going to withdraw. I had been doing intravenous drug use for a number of years, and I had gotten off of them like half a dozen times because of going to jail and stuff like that. But this was solely a decision I made on my own. And I mean, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but I did it. Took me about 2 weeks, and I just tapered myself down off the stuff I was doing and did that. Probably a couple years later, I've been almost clean from booze for almost 2 years. And, but it was the same. That was a little harder, but the same thing. And it was, and in trying to do certain spiritual practices and trying to exercise and eat right, the alcohol was just getting in the way. I couldn't function at my best. So it was just kind of a number of things like that helped me then get off the alcohol as well. And yeah, that's when yeah, and it's just really helped me grow, still
Well,
grow.
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we never stop learning, we never stop growing. But let's go back to that a little bit, though. You kind of said it there, or I thought was interesting. Like, it took little by little, but maybe that's important though, to take it little by little, because like, not to shove religion on anyone's face, but you know how they say God gives us as much as we can handle. Maybe that's just what you could handle at that time, and then as you got bigger and bigger, maybe you're able to handle more and more. Does that make sense?
Well, the way I looked at it was, I created everything that was there and I could stop it all. Now, all the stuff that I was dealing with in my mind, like I had a lot of things to deal with that would come up, things I was guilty about. And I had learned, stuff pops up in your head every day.
Right.
That is your higher self or God, but basically your soul speaking to you to deal with these things. And they're not going to go away until you face them head on. I mean, you don't have to face them head on. The easiest way to deal with the things is to face them head on, which is what I did. And it was, I mean, it took more courage than I ever thought I could have. But I mean, it just lightens the load off of your soul. And then those things go away. Now, life is still life. I mean, you're still going to have challenges and things come through maybe every day, but to not have things in the back of your head just, pop up every once in a while or every day that you need to deal with. Um, yeah, I think that's very important. Call it cleaning out your closet if you want, but
Yeah, no,
yeah.
that's a fair point. And I will say though too, then let me ask you this, Seth. Do you think, maybe, I don't want to give sound like I'm giving you an excuse what you were doing, but like, do you think maybe like the drinking and the drugs was like your way of like not having to deal with what you had to face. Does that make sense?
Um, not the drugs. I mean, I just got on that and was, I don't know, that became, I mean, I was really addicted, but it was like I don't know. The drugs are a whole other thing that, like, for me, I mean, not a whole other thing, but yeah, not really with that. With the alcohol, uh, I mean, sure. I knew what I was doing and I used it to mask everything on purpose, um, to not have to deal. But it was killing me. Um, Slowly but surely. So, I mean, it had to be dealt with.
Absolutely. And we talked about spirituality and all that stuff. What started like the process for you to be like, I want to start searching for this? I know you said earlier that you had threw it all away, but what made you decide? You said, you know what? I need to go out and start searching. I need to go out and be like, there's something out there. I just know it that helped me through this, but there's got to be like a purpose to everything.
Um, well, I always believed in a creator, God, source. Uh, I was on and off with Christianity. I mean, I always called myself a Christian. Um, but I got away from that. I chose to see one of the first insights I had that I just thought of. I'm like, well, okay, Jesus. Because I had a lot of questions for you. Well, was he real? Was he not? Doesn't matter at this point. But I looked at Jesus as a symbol of love. A lot of people I know throughout my life, go to church once a week, do their thing, call themselves Christians. I used to do the same thing. Um, but instead of looking for, well, Jesus was this and he was this perfect person and I should try to be that. I don't think people try to be that. I think they want to, and maybe they don't feel they're good enough. But my thing is, if Jesus was love, why not try to be love? And like, that's what I saw it for what it was. And when I took that, that was, I don't know, that was just one of many pieces, but one of the bigger ones that I'm like, well, if we would all just treat each other with that, wouldn't everybody, like, how can you go wrong with that? And that was just one of the big things. And then you find that in so many other philosophies, so many other religions that, at the core teach that. And I think there's definitely a reason for that.
Well, yeah, no, I agree with you on that. Like being a believer myself, like I've always felt for the longest time like you had to be a certain way. But then like the more you look into it, the more it looks like it straight out tells you like, look, you're not going to be perfect. Nothing's going to go perfect, like we said before, we're still going to have bad days, and yes, there's been some stressed out, and we both deal with days where we're just like really depressed. But I think ultimately, I think what people needs to realize, like, what, we'll get through this. It's easier said than done. I get it. But like, if we can just, keep the core of what you said about love, maybe it will all just turn around and then maybe we can just keep moving forward and hopefully grow together.
Yeah. And I mean, people are going to get on your nerves. You're going to get annoyed. Um, you're going to get mad. But, I believe with everything, as long as you try your best, that's all that matters. And yeah.
Well, yeah, no, to add to your point too about trying your best, like I think a lot of people out there, I think they think they got to be a certain way, and it doesn't work out for them, but then they discover who they are, and they're like, oh, okay, I should try to be the best that I can be. He like because nothing's ever going to be perfect, but I think some people think they got to be perfect, especially with how the world is right now. Like people just want to they don't want to cause any drama. They just want love, but it's kind of hard right now because everybody seems to be more interested in being right and doing what's right.
Well, yeah, and I mean that's you know perspective. Um, I One of the best things I did, I completely removed myself from politics and quote unquote news. Um, and it was the best decision I ever made. I was hardcore into politics. I never was ever in my life. I didn't have a clue about anything going on. And then I don't even remember how it happened. I had a question. It was when Trump first got elected. I had a question about something. And then I'd heard one side, like, that were Democrats talking to me about, oh, can you believe he said this? And then I said something to somebody else who was Republican, and they're like, well, no, here's this view of it. That's not entirely true. And I grabbed on to the whole Trump thing, and not it had nothing to do with him. It was just kind of the stuff that I don't even remember what I even agreed with at the time, but I was pretty nuts with it. And I don't I just I saw all of it from a different lens, all the distraction. I saw it all as a distraction, separation, so much anger and hate implemented from all sides. Um, and I just didn't want to be a part of it. That was over 4 years ago, and I haven't. It was one of the best decisions I ever made. And I've had people say to me, "Oh, you got to kind of know what's going on." Yeah, well, I don't agree with that either. I know what's going on. My wife and I get our news from, what we call real news from other sources.
No,
Um,
oh, sorry.
so, but yeah, that was one of the best decisions I ever made. And again, it boils down to the love thing. You start, you start looking inside yourself, first of all, and finding self love. Because before you do that, I mean, you can't put it out there if you don't love yourself. And, and then once you do that, and then you start actually, I mean, it takes some trying, it takes practice. Like I would practice putting myself in situations to see how I would react, and I just kept doing that over and over again to try to I just get better at it, and to where now it's like I just feel love for everything in this place. And but I think that's what the world needs, as cliche as that may sound.
No, I 1000% agree with you. Like, because I've been kind of in the same boat where I'm like, dude, I don't care who you are. Like you, I stay away from mainstream news or like social media news because it's like, like everyone else, I have my opinion, but I just don't feel like we're being told everything. I think that's kind of affected a lot of people's thinking, and I'm just like, I feel like there's things people are missing, and I'm with you 100%. I just feel like, as cliche as it is, it's the truth though. We need more love in the world, and just feels like nobody wants to do it for some weird reason.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, just going out of your way sometime to just ask somebody how they're doing. Um, you see somebody that might need a little bit of help, and I mean, even just randomly, if you can afford to do it, just randomly paying for somebody's, not saying everybody has to do it, but randomly paying for somebody's groceries or gas or whatever. I mean, that does something to you. and it does something for the other person. It's just small things. I mean, I started off just, buying somebody's coffee at Dunkin' Donuts or something, but just little thing. And even again, not even doing that, just maybe asking somebody how they're doing and lending an ear. Um, I know for myself, which is kind of where I would think of that stuff, like, well, times that I was not doing very well and somebody just asked me how I was doing and listened for a little bit. I mean, that stuff really helps. And same with patience. I still gotta practice patience every day. Um, but just, not overreacting when, somebody does something that might not seem, I don't know, like they weren't in the best place at the time when they made a certain decision. Like when you start thinking that way, you can, maybe your perspective will change a little bit, and like, oh, that person, they're really, say you see somebody angry. Well, I mean, you don't, maybe the way they react might not be right, but at the same time, you don't know what they're going through. I see anger and hate and all that stuff just coming from a place of fear, and a lot of, fear, pain, hurt. It just manifests in those ways. And that's how I view it now. So like somebody gets angry or upset even at me, which I haven't really dealt with that since I changed the way I react. But when you see that, that's just how I view it now. And it's like looking at it from a totally different lens.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Like, I definitely think also too, and to add to your point, there's a lot of people out there that don't try to like survey the situation, try to calm everything or everyone down on, like, you know what I mean? Like people they just react and just get angry for no reason. And then when you figure out the reason, nobody tries like, okay, well, let's just try to avoid this again or just talk it out. It just seemed like everything has to just be hate, and I never understood why it has to be that way. Or also like perceived hate, like someone could say something and be like, why are you being so hateful? And they're like, I wasn't, I was just saying this because of this, you know like it just, everyone just seems to just like react to everything as just hate, and I don't get it.
Well, and you don't have to pursue everybody either. I mean, everybody has the right. The most powerful thing we have in this life is the power of choice. And that's why I feel the same way about blaming. The moment you stop blaming other people or things for your situation, the easier and quicker you'll start to change and evolve. Yeah, pursuing people that, seem angry, seem upset, not a good idea. Um, not not in my opinion. If it doesn't, if it's not things that are gonna make, strive for peace or love or evolution in a positive way, I don't even give it any attention. I don't give it any energy whatsoever. It's just, yeah, that's just my take on it. Same with violence. If something has to, and I've heard, there's people with opinions on that. Well, if it wasn't for violence, we wouldn't be where we're at. It's just, I don't care. If you have to hurt another thing, another human being to propel evolution, I don't agree with it. That to me is, yeah, that's done with, I just don't agree with it. But at the same time, I don't care what anybody else does. It's your life, it's your choice. You think and feel and do however you want. But at the same time, people can choose to not be around it or be around you, and you got to respect that as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think also too, like you talk about understanding, like people get like angry in situations and then like no one really thinks about it. They're like, well, if this person like says wasn't like this, you know, this wouldn't have happened. And I said, well, yeah, but if you knew, say, like so and so was angry and there's issues and they're struggling with stuff, why do you keep pushing somebody to their limit, you know, or try to find or create something that could help avoid something, you know what I mean? Like try to come up with something positive out of this, you know?
Hmm.
But let me ask, let's talk a little bit about spirituality, Seth. Like what's some of the stuff that like got your interest to like start searching for, you know, yourself and be more positive in life?
Um, for me, I learned about a lot of these. I learned about a lot of other different, I mean, we'll call them religions, but I don't look at Buddhism as a religion. I look at it as a philosophy. But learning about, you know, I didn't dive into it. Like, I'm not like an expert on Buddhism or anything, but just people that were, you know, that I found online and on YouTube and stuff, uh, just talking about inner growth and, it's like I was saying earlier about working on yourself and, just following a lot of the precepts in Buddhism and even Hinduism, um, and just it was different than other things I ever heard. Like Christianity's pretty cut and dry. Um, with I don't even want to really get into that, but no, it was just that's pretty much it. And learning about the Egyptians and you know certain things, all these we'll call them gods. We call them gods because we don't know what else to call them. But these other deities, like that taught, you know, certain things. I just started questioning everything. I'm like, well, why? You know, why is this still around? Why was this history, you know, never removed? And why? Like, I just started asking questions. One of the first things was, I don't really want to get into like conspiracies and stuff, but the pyramids, for instance. I'm like, well, I knew nothing. I might as well have slept through school. But I'm like, well, what these pyramids? Like, we don't know what they are. Why not? And that's kind of, it's not really, I can't really answer that with one thing. It was just a number of things and asking questions and not stopping my search for answers. And yeah, and discovering, you know, now this depends where your beliefs end. Um, discovering about karma and past lives and, you know, evolving beyond this place that I believe where we all are on earth. I think it's more of a school. I think we all have a purpose here um, to discover, and it's not easy. I feel like I've discovered mine, and when and in discovering everything that I have, it doesn't make it easier. I mean, in some ways, it's harder, but it's definitely what's meant to be. But for me, again, learning karma and erasing karma by doing, you know, positive things, and it's way deeper than that, but that's kind of what made me want to change. And if you believe in reincarnation, which I do, you know, I believe in higher worlds, also lower worlds, and everywhere in between. And I strive for, you know, after this life to go to a better one, you know, because we definitely live in a world of suffering. Um, but you can also choose whether to suffer or not. I mean, the choice is really yours.
Yeah, no, and I often wonder why people are so like afraid to seek or even ask questions, especially nowadays. Like I remember being told one time by Father Peter Reddick, who was at Sacred Heart at the time, really good guy. He called me a truth seeker. And I was like, it just something about him saying that just kind of like almost like awoke something in me where I was just like, huh. It just felt right. And then I had people from like the other side of the spectrum call me the same thing. And so it's like, well, it's gotta be true, right? And I don't understand. And even in the Bible, it says, don't be arrogant, be a truth seeker, you know? And it's for me, I just don't understand what's so bad about asking questions because don't you want to learn? Don't you want to try to, you know, for me, I think it's just another way of trying to be the best you can be, like understand like why people are a certain way or why this is happening or and talk about other stuff too, like the planets. Like we're not the only planet out here in the solar system. There are other worlds and potentially other life forms. Like there's so much out there. So why not ask questions, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I've asked questions since I was a little kid. That's why I grabbed onto Christianity. It was the only thing I knew, spirituality wise. So I was like, oh, what's this? Oh, you do this, you follow this, and this happens or doesn't happen. And oh, but yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of good things to come, there's a lot of good teachings even in that. And that you can grab from a lot of places. Um, but yeah, I mean, for me, it's just working on just a lot of inner growth and trying to be a better person. And, I have real high aspirations for humanity, evolving, through love and, uh, yeah, I mean, that's, I strive for that every day. You know, I,
No, that's a
by,
good,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's a good thing to strive for because especially nowadays we're like, and I'm trying not to get too much into conspiracies when I say this, but it's like people would say things and then you could look them up right away, or down the road you come to find out that stuff wasn't accurate. So it's like okay, like you start searching things, but with you, I think how do I want to say this? I feel like people forget to still have the love part. And I mean, it can be tough because, like for example, me, like I've been hurt a lot in the past and it's led me down to a lot of dark things like, self-harming and all that stuff. But it also like people forget though that you can still love. Like people, there's ways to like get even through the darkness, we can try to find love and like get away from the darkness, if that makes any sense.
Well, and again, I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy at all. But if you try the other thing, like try to not blame another person, which I mean, it's almost instinctual. It's like not for everybody, but I mean, for me, I used to just blame, well, this happened to me and this is why I did this and this is what, but ultimately I made the choice to do everything. Nobody put a gun to my head. Nobody, I may have been influenced, but nobody made a decision for me. I ultimately made the decision. And even just shifting with that, like try that on for size, like try to not blame somebody and take full accountability and see where it gets you. And like just those small practices, then, do that for a while and see how it works. And, and then try not to get upset. I mean, I pick up randomly, I'll pick up garbage, for instance. And I just picked up a lot of garbage up on Big Ridge. And I was just up there yesterday, and somebody on the pull offs up there somebody dumped about 15 bags of garbage and a bunch of wood and then a few bags down at the other one. And I'm just like, I don't get upset. I mean, I don't get mad. It honestly hurts like that. It's like I care about, I care about nature. I care about this earth. I feel we're all connected, not just on the soul level, but also to the consciousness of this domain. I so I feel it just saddens me. But
No,
all I can do, what am I gonna complain about it? No. I'll, tell whoever I have to who will deal with it. And if they don't deal with it, I'll deal with it. But that's just kind of the way I move these days.
no, I totally hear what you're saying, because like there's times where I like to go for walks to help out with my back and stuff, and I would see like cans just randomly thrown on the road, and I'm like, dude, you couldn't keep that with your house, and even more or importantly, like you couldn't have just kept it that way. You can then just like recycle it and get money out of it.
Yeah, and that's never going to go away. But at the same time, I mean, one of the first times I was ever doing that, some lady drove up to me and she thought I was dumping stuff, and I'm like, no, I'm picking stuff up. And she was just angry. I'm sick of this and da 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 da. I'm like, I didn't say this, but what I thought afterwards, I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And, complaining about it or getting upset isn't going to change anything. Like, go do something about it. But again, I don't care what anybody does. I make my decision to do it. If other people want to, great. If not, so be it. But yeah, just try to eliminate the complaining and the gossiping. Like those things, just for me personally, it brings, I believe it brings your consciousness level down. It brings your vibration, your frequency down. I mean, it's there, and I just choose not to be a part of any of that. Again, like, just loving emotions, period. Just not to, oh, you got to love everybody, but just deep positivity. Try to be positive when it doesn't feel like it can be, you know. Try to
Yeah.
just try to smile, randomly when you're sad or stuff, because, even just smiling can change. It does something to your brain, to almost like on your subconscious level, to just trigger you to, want to change the way you're feeling or whatever. Not that the stuff works every time, but
Well, yeah, and also too, to add to your point, like I'm a firm believer of like out of 100%, 90% of the stuff that people talk about or like mention is just nothing but BS. And I think that's a bad thing, because then the 10% of truth that comes out, it can't get past all the garbage. So I'm with you on the whole like gossiping thing, because a lot of it is just like, okay, well, great, but does that really affect what we're trying to do here? You know, like something bad could legitimately happen, but yet people are too busy worried about this stuff that really doesn't mean anything.
yeah. And that's another thing through, I don't know. I think people can learn through experience, through loss, through, um, I don't know where I was really going with that. Um, yeah, I don't
Well,
know. It's just not something I subscribe to.
no, honestly, and I try to avoid it as much as I possibly can. Well, but if you don't mind me asking, Seth, how long has it now been since Jeff's passed away?
Uh, I think it was the end of February in 2017. So
It's almost 10
eight,
years.
8 years now.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's wild.
No, and the reason why I asked this is because this past April was 25 years since I lost my pap, and coming in November will be 15 years since I lost my nan. I think you mentioned about loss and all that stuff. I think it's important to like, you know, to have remembrance of those that we lost, but I also think it's important to like keep that memory, but also realize like try to use it to move forward. To try to use what you've with the time that you had with those people to like maybe help other people get better and use that to like bring improvement and all that stuff. Honoring the dead, if you will.
Right. And that's another thing about I guess perspective, like the way I the way I view, and for one, I fully believe everything happens for a reason. There's nothing by chance, there's no coincidences. And again, when you remove that stuff, it helps you think, even more, well, why? And even if, regardless of why, if it wouldn't have happened, like if my brother, this is the way I view it, if my brother hadn't died, I would not be where I'm at. I mean, it totally, that whole situation, yeah, I went into the deepest, darkest place in my life, but with it brought transformation. And I mean, you could look at that symbolically throughout, like in life. I mean, every story you've ever heard of redemption and hope, I mean, they all come from a dark place. And it's just, I mean, it's just one of them. Um, and it's not like when he died, like, and drugs were involved, but it's not like when he died, I'm like, oh, I gotta quit doing this and that. It was, the exact opposite. And but I see it as, I love my brother to death. He lived his life the way he wanted. And but yeah, it's I don't look at it as a good or bad thing. It just is. And what came from it has come from it. And
Yeah,
yeah.
we should probably make clarify that too for some people that that probably listen to this. We're not saying like, oh, it's a good thing, like, death happened and this stuff happened. Like when we say like things, because I'm a believer of everything happens for a reason too, even though I admit I have days where I'm like, what, why, but like
Mhm.
I think it's important to know like it could help. There could be a positive. I guess like what we said before, there could be a positive out of the darkness that we feel. Not that we don't feel sad that this person is no longer with us. We wish they would still be around, but it happened and it hadn't have been for a reason. And then it's important to like maybe try to have that perspective. May not be the best perspective, you never know, but I think just like for me, I still wish my nan and pap were here, but they're not here. They're no longer here. But at the same time, though, they can be here with me in spirit. And I've had moments where I felt like, my nan was here and I felt really comforting.
Well, and I also, what helped me too, because I had a lot of questions for a long time, like especially old beliefs. I'm like, well, I can't, I'm not going to accept that my brother's in hell. Like I always, was taught, with all that. I'm like, yeah, I refuse to believe that. And I I'm trying to think of how I want to say this. I don't believe, to me, death, death isn't the end. I fully believe death is just it's literally you're transitioning from this place to the next thing. And I mean, I've watched and listened to a lot of people, I mean, for a few years now, people that have had experiences with, a lot with the afterlife and past life regression therapy. And there's a lot of stuff out there that's not mainstream, that you can discover. And it just makes you ask questions. But I, I believe that everything that quote unquote dies is still in another place in some form. And even when you think of a loved one that you lost, I mean, I believe they're aware again in some form. And I don't think it's just one form. I think there's many, the spider web of, realities and things I think it's vast. It's like trying to comprehend God and like the whole existence of everything and the all. Like it's vast. I don't. It's
No, no, I hear what you're saying because, like I said, I'm a believer and I believe in Jesus, but I also sometimes I like to read those stuff on history, like all these other things, like whether it be like mysticism, magic, and all that stuff. I believe that stuff, to be true as well, like stuff from the past that for some reason nobody wants to talk about it anymore. And I'm like, and like I said, I do believe in Jesus, but I sometimes like wonder like, well, how do you know what we're being told is 100% accurate? It might be we may be correct with like our beliefs, but how do we know it didn't go differently than what we were told? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And I do not care what anybody believes. I don't even. I look at people at a soul level, and like I look at you. That's what I see. All the other stuff is just. It's just really baggage. It's stuff accrued. I mean, when we come into this life, there is none of that. You're a soul. You're you. And that's kind of how I view people now. I don't care. I mean, you can tell if somebody's not pretty quick, I guess, but uh I mean, there's good people, not so good people, but when it comes to religion and politics, I don't care where you're at with that. We can agree. Agreeing to disagree is one of the best moves you can make in life. Like it's just as long as, and I've had conversations with Christians and atheists and Catholics, and uh, I think, I mean, yeah, there's different beliefs, but it's okay. Like no matter you believe you're going here and doing this, and this is going to get you there, and it makes you a better person, and you think this, great. I'm happy for you. That's awesome. As long as you're striving to be a better person and be the best you can, that's great.
Yeah, no, and no, I 100% agree with that. And I sometimes wonder when people talk about this stuff, how do you know we don't have more in common than we realize? You know what I mean? Like because I'm a firm believer, we use words that don't actually mean how we say it. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
people are using words like I've been reading some stuff from like a dictionary and all that stuff. I'm like, wow, people are really using like for example, like a lot of I'm not going to say anything, but like a lot of the swear words that people use aren't what they mean, but yet people continue to use them like they're bad. And I'm like, dude, that's not what that word means. You know what I mean? Like, do you ever sometimes wonder like people can say something that you think it's this way, but then you say it to somebody else who thinks differently, and they're like, why would you say that? But it's like, well, that's what it means to me. Like, what does it mean to you? And it's like, no, this means this to me. Do you think that causes some of the confusion?
um, maybe. Yeah, I don't. I'm sure it does. Um, but if we're talking about the way people are talking, I mean, that's another thing that comes down to choice. You know, um, people getting upset over the way other people talk. I mean, if it makes you upset and you see somebody's that way, keep it moving. Like on to, if it doesn't mesh with you, on to the next one. You don't have to give it any, you know, bad energy unless you want. Go ahead, but where's it going to get you?
You're part of the Freemasons here down in our little small town here. What got you interested in doing that?
Um, a buddy of mine became a Mason, and he liked. Oh my, we had several conversations, but he would just tell me, like, we were into different cool metaphysical stuff and philosophy and things like that, and a lot of that, ties in with that. It's just one part, and symbolism and stuff. And I wasn't interested at all. I was happy doing my own thing. Um, I was glad that he was. And for me, I follow a lot of signs and synchronicities that come into my life. I kind of move that way too. And that really boiled down to my spiritual teacher that I'd said about a while ago. I learned that he was a Knights Templar. And I'm like, this was the final piece. There were 3 signs that came through, and this one was the final one. And my buddy who's in, he said, well, if he's a Knights Templar, he's a Freemason. And I was like, really? And then that was kind of my final thing to get in. I can't even remember at this point what the other 2 things that came in were, but yeah, I didn't know much about Freemasonry until I got in. Like I was already on the I was deep into spirituality before I even joined that. That was just kind of like I used that as it's just another avenue to gain more knowledge and experience, and yeah, but I love everything about it.
Well, I've always been fascinated about Freemasonry because, like I said before, I'm big into history and stuff, and just hearing all this stuff about them. But then, like, I hear all this and that, and like how they were formed, and that I've always been curious about it. Never officially like asked anybody anything. I just simply just asked questions, and they answered what they gave me, and that's how I always did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's a yeah, I like everything about it. I don't Yeah, I mean, there's guys that have been in for 30, 40 years that could tell you, they're like a encyclopedia for it. But yeah, it's they do a lot of good things. Community work, try to raise money all year to put back into the community, and you don't have to be tied to any religion. You have to believe in some, higher power. But that's it. Um,
Well,
Other than that, that's really the only thing. It's the only thing you have. It's the only requisite, we'll say, to joining.
Well, you don't have to go through the details of the process if you don't want to. But what was it like when you finally officially became a member?
Um, I don't know. For me, it's just I don't know. It's just a personal achievement, I guess. But more than that, it's just I don't know. It's just part of my journey.
Mm,
Um,
I guess.
Guys striving for the same. We all have the same goal to just be, be better people and be good. Just be good citizens, good human beings. And I mean, there's a lot of crazy rumors that we just laugh about, but
Well,
yeah.
like I said before, I'm a big believer of 90% of the stuff people say. I think is just inaccurate, and the truth just slips by sometimes. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, do you feel like did it feel like you came a long way from where you were?
Oh my. Yeah. Um, yeah. But it all, yeah. And it all just boiled down from a decision. Just an idea of pretty much just the first decision to not want to want to live and not slowly kill myself anymore was kind of the whole. That was when things really started to change. And then the discovery, I think the universe will give you what you're looking for when you start moving that way. Like the whole law of attraction. And I mean, what you put out, you'll get back. I firmly believe that. I think everything was divinely guided to me throughout the whole. I mean, and you have to trust in that. If you just think, oh, things just happen and this and that, I mean, you're not going to get very far, or you'll just stay where you're at. But I mean, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's a good thing. And I'm glad to see that, see how far you've come, Seth, and like what you've been able to accomplish. And but trying to be on a more positive note too was I don't know if you know this, but I'm a writer, and earlier this year I had wrote about it's 25 years ago. This is the 25th anniversary since the Lewistown Panthers football team won the Iron Kettle. And when I was going through it, I realized you were on that roster.
Yeah, that was a fun year. Now don't get me wrong, I didn't play. But but man, that was that was fun times. That was a fun year. I had a lot of good friends on that team.
Yeah, I didn't know if you saw my article that I wrote for Hometown about it. I was like, I got so many pictures from people, and when I saw the one team photo, I saw you there, and I was like, oh man, Seth was on that team. I completely forgot about that because I thought you had already graduated before me because I was a freshman when that happened.
Yeah, I don't know if I read your article. I saw the article. It might have been in the Sentinel. I don't know. I saw something about it. And then yeah, I saw there was a picture. I was like, "Oh, that was." And then I saw myself. I'm like, "Oh, that's wild."
I'll send you my hometown story here afterwards, but yeah, no, I was like, man, that was really cool. But what do you have any fun memories from that year?
Oh man. Yeah, that was yeah, for me it was just I don't know, everything that, being on a team and working hard comes with. Uh I had a lot of good friends on that team. Nick Knable and Ed Deans, they were two of my really good friends then. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, and everything, even doing I remember 2-a-day practices before school started in the summer. And when you're going through stuff like that, that just sucks, but you're going through it as a team. And it just, yeah, we had a lot of really good players that year too.
Well, I got to give a big shout out to Nick Knable because he was one of the first people I reached out to try to get the story rolling. And guys like him, Tressler, Mike Baker, appreciate all those guys helping me do that. And I was very thankful to the amount of support I got after I finished my story and really appreciated that. So,
Yeah, that's awesome.
but I'm glad though that you had a good time doing that, Seth. And also, I guess, and I'm also glad to see that you're in a much healthier headspace than you've been going through years before. And I hope you continue to grow as well.
Yeah, thanks, man. And I always I hope for other people to be able to, do the same thing. I mean, I know it's hard. It's one of the most difficult things to do, but man, if you make a decision and with anything, I mean, depression, you know, drugs, alcohol, loss, and you can just yeah, find something in yourself or in, you know, in spirituality, I mean, for me, like hands down, and my changing my beliefs is uh, what did it for me. And then, just wanting to be a better person, a better father, husband, um, just want, be better. And, a lot of, attaining self love and, you know, caring about my soul and, just the collective of everyone. And yeah, and I mean, starting small too. I mean, when I made that decision to pull myself away from everything and just focus on my reality around me and try to make that better first. Just trying to go like, oh, I want to change the world or I want to, do this. I mean, go ahead and people do. But for me, what worked was just focusing on my circle first and then go from there. And then you get, you see some things there that need some work. How's your relationship with, not saying you got to reach out to people you haven't talked to in years, but I mean, your immediate family, how's this relationship? Is there stuff here? Is there tension here? Stuff here? If it affects you and you don't like it and, deal with stuff in your home, maybe. Uh, yeah. And then, then you get cleaned up, if you will. And, things are good, then, then maybe step out a little bit and, and then eventually, who knows how far you can reach to, yeah.
I guess my last question to you, Seth, is what are your future goals now since you've become a Mason and trying to, better yourself? Like any future plans?
Oh my. Um, yeah, I mean, in masonry, I plan to go as far as I can. I'm going to do Scottish Rite in November. I'll get my 32nd, my Templar down there. And then in the way that kind of works, you kind of go backwards and go through degrees and stuff. But yeah, Freemasonry. I started one of the things I'm going to school for, trying to balance that out. It's real fun, but it's called Ayurveda. I wanted to get into holistic medicine. And long story short, when I was doing research on that, I found this ancient Indian medicine called Ayurveda. And it's connecting, not separating mind, body, and soul, and understanding that it's all connected and everything, energetically is connected. So there's medicine, in ways that through food, through, things you're taking in daily, astrologically, even, just, it's just another form of natural medicine that I feel called to uh, go after. And, and it's not like it's a job. I mean, it'll be my lifestyle. It'll be my career. And, that, ties in with, it's all spirituality. Like Ayurveda is, it's a very spiritual practice. So that, and yeah, just raising kids and being a husband and working but yeah, I'm just trying to bring joy and love to, everybody I'm around, and without being overbearing, just, that's just trying to live better every day and evolve.
No, amen to that. And thank you so again, with that being said, thank you so much, Seth, for coming on the show. I really appreciated that. And I hope and pray that you continue to find success and happiness.
Yeah, you too, buddy. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it again. And thank you all for watching this episode. I love you all, and God bless. Be safe out there, everybody.